So today, the Craft Beer Channel is brought to you by the letters J for Jet Ski and F for Florida Weisse. And J for Johnny.
We've travelled thousands of miles, and not all of it by jet ski, to what could legitimately be called paradise. St Pete in Clearwater, Florida is famous for its white sandy beaches, fresh seafood and gorgeous sunsets, but less so for its unexpected cultural quirks, one of which is an incredible brewing scene. So for the next few weeks we're going to show you just how spoiled the region is for its amazing beer, world-class breweries and even unique local beer styles. And that's where we're starting, with the tart, ultra-fruity Florida Weisse. Inspired by Germany's Berliner Weisse, but born and raised right here in Florida. Let us explain.
Hey Biggies, welcome back to the Craft Beer Channel. Today we're investigating a very unique and very concentrated style, and I mean that
in every way.
In 2 ways. It's pretty clever.
It's Florida Weisse.
It's Florida Weisse. We are here in Florida, in a beautiful part of Florida called Clearwater, to investigate this really unique, really interesting style. What's really interesting is that the way the beer used to work is it used to be kind of informed or conceived different styles in 2 ways. One was like the local ingredients, so whether that was a scarcity of something or an abundance of something. So like a good example is Gosa is salted because the water was salty in Goslar where that was conceived. The other way that it's conceived is sort of through demand, like it's hot, I want a Gosa.
Yeah.
This is very much in the latter category.
It's kind of, sort of based on a Berliner Weisse, kind of.
Yeah.
But then they've put their Floridian, crazy fruity tastes.
Yeah, so it is like a traditional German Berliner base, and then all kinds of amazing things have been put on top of it to give it, well, a ton of really unusual things, which we'll be investigating throughout this. So we've gone to kind of the heart of the creation of this beer and chatted to some of the people that are making the best ones.
So it's not quite Miami Weisse, but join us on a tour of Florida Weisse.
So first up, let's get wise about Weisse. We headed to Dubai Brewing in Palm Harbor to find out the process and where the whole idea came from. As we tuck into their strawberry margarita sour, this time made with salt and coriander, it turns out that owner Ben and brewer Zach could only really help us with the first bit.
Standard procedure beforehand, then when it gets to the kettle, you bring it to about 110 degrees and you let it sit in the kettle for, the way we do it is over the weekend with the lactobacillus culture, and that gives it that sour funkiness.
So sort of lowering the pH of the liquid.
Lowers the pH, so it brings it from about 5.4 pH to around 3.2. And then from there you just go back to a normal brewing procedure.
Yeah.
So you bring it to a boil, you add your hops, and then you bring it to the fermenter.
So in front of me I've got a strawberry
margarita Gosa.
Strawberry margarita Gosa.
Mm-hmm.
So when is that strawberry added, and what form is it in?
For that, it was pasteurized strawberry puree that's added to the fermenter. It needs to be pasteurized so it doesn't bring more bacteria in. But then we used, I believe it was 80 pounds of fresh oranges and 50 pounds of fresh limes, and we put those in the kettle. So they boiled and they were pasteurized in the kettle. So that's where you get all the orange and lime flavor from.
And so when you opened the brewery, was that always going to be a focus, or was it you opened it and everyone was asking for these beers?
No, I like sours. As I was getting into the brewery scene, sours got big, and I started getting big into sours, especially kettle sours. So that's one thing I wanted us to focus on, is doing good treated Berliners.
You know, you'd expect perhaps for hot countries to go for lagers, really. That's sort of, certainly in Europe, the hotter countries are all brewing lagers, they're brewing pale, really crisp beers. Why did the Berliner Weisse happen here instead of maybe a kind of lager culture?
I don't know. I mean, there's a few breweries in the area that have started doing Berliners really, really good, you know, and people started following suit after that, I think.
Right. So who was sort of doing it really early on that you guys saw? And
Seventh Son Brewery. Good friends of the owners there, and they've always been like a inspiration, almost like something to shoot for.
Right.
Because what they do good.
We can take a hint, so off we went to Seventh Son. Many people in the area had mentioned the brewery as an inspiration, so when we arrived we expected something a little bigger. As well as finding out that there is a much bigger production site in Tampa, we quickly realised how deserved their reputation was. Founder Devon can definitely count her among the first innovators of the Florida Weisse, as she was there learning through the mistakes and the triumphs with everyone else.
So basically back in the day it was kind of like there was a few other associates in the industry, Ben Romano who works at Angry Chair, Doug Dozark from Cycle, I'm probably missing some other people like Wayne from Cigar City. Like we were all kind of playing around with trying to make kettle sours and trying to figure out how to do it. There wasn't very much data or information on it at all back then. And so we would compare notes until we all kind of figured out, well, this is what's working, this is what's effective, and this is what gives you a clean, non-blue cheesy, Berliner. And obviously there's a lot of, Florida is a great place for fruits and it's hot, so the Berliner just fits.
Is it hot?
The Florida Weisse fits. Yeah, you had no, me neither. But yeah, so we thought it was a good fit, and it was fun. It's just so fun. It's such like a blank canvas for throwing all sorts of fruit and playing around with it.
Where did the fruit come from? Had you seen other people doing it, or did you guys go, well, I think this lovely lemony base would be great with?
Yeah, it's just a natural fit. I mean, I don't really recall even I can't remember if other people were doing the fruit, but I mean, it seems so obvious, it just...
I guess the Germans, with their Berliner Weisse, were already adding woodruff syrup and stuff, so...
Exactly, yeah, so it's kind of like, well, let's just add the fruit from the beginning, let's throw it in the whole thing. And Cigar City started doing this back in the day, and you basically just would take fruit, defrost it, like frozen fruit's the best because you defrost it, it kind of breaks open the cell walls and makes the fruit flavors come out more and express more in the beer.
And it's at its freshest point when you use it as well because it's been frozen.
Exactly, yeah. So we just would throw that into a finished beer and then essentially serve it right away. So you're having it where none of the fruit has fermented out and you get all those full flavors of the fruit. So versus like the lambic style, obviously that's getting fermented out. It's a whole different animal. Yeah. The biggest challenge is often with balance. How much do you use of what? Do you have something because like passion fruit is a really strong fruit. So like if you put the same amount of that as you do of like cherry, it's going to kill all the cherry, Yep. So you have to figure out what those balances are and when you're doing it in that kind of way.
From one of the originators, we went to one of those currently getting the most attention for their sour beers. Arcane have made a name for themselves and won several awards for their adjunct heavy beers, but even founders Joe and Dan are surprised by the demand they see from their patrons. In fact, kettle sours have come to dominate the guys' beer board, despite brewing all kinds of styles and coming from a more traditional brewing background themselves.
We've got probably 2 to 3 times as many sours as any other kind of beer on our menu now. And in the beginning it was just like anything else, maybe less really. Because of the multiple fermentations, they take longer, they're time consuming. It was just a lot more involved. But once people had them, it was real apparent real quick that that's what people wanted. So now we've got 10 to 12 sours on, and every other category has maybe 4 beers.
Or 1 or 2.
Yeah, 4 at most.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to me to come in and, there's breweries that produce a wide range of beers, and so there might be 4 or 5 sours on, but there might be some mixed firms, some kettle sours, all this kind of stuff. You guys are just like, half of your beer board is kettle soured beer, which I don't know whether you guys realise is completely unique. I've not seen that in any other part of the world.
A lot of breweries specialize in what they want to do, and I don't know, I think sour has always been pretty special to us. But we grew up brewing classic styles. We wanted to make everything.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for kettle sours and sours in general.
Do you ever get any resistance from people going, well, is a kettle sour a true sour? Is it a cheat to get to the mixed firm kind of
Bob
tartness?
Sylvester's never said that, ever.
No?
No.
Some people might feel that way. It's just another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
If people, I always tell everybody, beer's about people. It's about community, really. So if there's people drinking it together, enjoying it, if you don't like the way it was fermented, I don't show up in any else's brewery complaining that it takes too long to get their beers. These sours are just taking way too long. You guys need to hurry up. Yeah.
One of the reasons that Arcane has done so well is the outlandish but carefully considered ingredients they use. Herbs, spices, peels and juices all feature, even coffee in the cherry beer I had. It all makes for a wide palette and lots of options when it comes to brewing.
And the fruits that you're adding, so I guess some of it's puree, some of it's whole fruit, some of it's just zest as well, like you're using the whole fruits and according to what you're looking for?
It depends on the goal with the beer, the balance you want. We're trying to do more with multiple fruits or a fruit and a spice, or to get more of a layered flavor profile than necessarily just fruit and sour. So it depends on your end goal. What are you trying to get to? Sour beers are nice because they lend themselves well to almost all fruits. They all, with the right level of acidity, seem to work pretty well. Yeah. So, but just what balance do you? Do you want this fruit to show through more? Do you want this other one to kind of linger in the back? And you can switch it, depending on what your end goal is.
One reason that Florida Weisse may have taken off in Florida is the incredible array of local fruits open to the brewers. Not all take advantage of them, but for some it's vital to their unique identity as both brewers and local businesses. We meet Julie and Ken, whose Paradise Brewery only uses Florida ingredients despite the problems it creates.
Why is sort of sourcing locally super important to you?
It's all kind of about support your local business. It's kind of what we built our business plan on. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to use what was available to us here in Florida. And we have so many, we may not be able to get locally sourced malts or some of the other things, but we're not getting mountain fed water necessarily, but we do grow and have access to a lot of other really cool things. They may be non-traditional beer ingredients, but they're fantastic. And Ken's done a really great job incorporating into our beers so that they still taste like beer, just kind of a Floridified version of it. Yeah. Not too sweet, still nice and dry, but a little hint of Florida.
Yeah. And so there's strawberries, there's oranges, obviously. What other fruits are you guys able to get hold of locally?
Grapefruits, blueberries,
peaches, watermelon, mango, a little bit of guava, although that's kind of died away a little bit. A lot of tropical fruits down in the Homestead, Miami area. A lot of tropical, but then a lot of nice berries, blackberries too. Right. We have Florida blackberries, so there's a lot of really cool stuff that we grow here.
It kind of makes you go, well, why wouldn't you only use local fruit? Are there any challenges associated with it?
The supply chain.
Yes.
Supply chain's tough. It's especially a brewery our size. It's sometimes hard to source enough to make a beer, or to make a beer for for distribution. You want to be able to make a beer for at least 3 months or things like that. So we do a lot of one-offs, a lot of limited release beers with it. Trying to source someone that can provide enough fruit for us can be challenging.
It's also hand processing, right? Like all the fruit comes in, and we don't have machines processing these fruits. So we have our staff and us and our friends and family come in and help us process the fruit, and then we have to go through the pasteurization process of the fruit in house. Where if you just buy a puree, a lot of times all that processing is done for you. You just have a bag of puree that's been pasteurized and it's ready to go in. Mm-hmm. So we got to take the fruit. We have to look at the fruit and see what is the best way for us to use this fruit, and how do we process it to get it into that state. And then once we get into that state, what can we do, or what do we need to do to the fruit to make sure that it's pasteurized and ready and fit for use in our beer. And so there's a little bit more involved with using local fruit, and
it's a lot more work. I mean, it is, but it's worth it.
And the worth it became very evident as we tried their blueberry Berliner Weisse.
And this is your Florida Weisse-ish, so it's got lactose in, which is a progression of.
It is. It's kind of lactose and a little bit of cinnamon. So it gives it this blueberry. I say it reminds me of my mom's blueberry crumble pie, or like a blueberry cobbler.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Would your mom say that, or?
She would. She would
okay,
actually.
Cool.
She's a big Paradise fan.
Wow, it really is like a pie. Lots of cinnamon and lovely, soft kind of sweet jamminess.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And these are local Florida blueberries that we use in this beer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. So when are those blueberries used, and how are they used? They go in whole?
No, we go through a little bit of a cooking process with them that helps us pasteurize them, and then we take our beer and we primarily age the beer on top of it.
Right. Okay. Yep. So it's gone through the fermentation.
It has.
It's kind of an infusion process, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so a little sweetness from the blueberries, a little bit of the sweetness from the lactose rounds out the body of that kettle sour beer that then gives that nice pie or cake character that we want in the beer.
If you tried it, Brad, that's really good.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So it's going to break the fourth wall there. That's super good.
That delicious blueberry cobbler beer with its lactose and cinnamon was touching on the next progression of this style, which has again taken some inspiration from more pop culture influenced brewers on Instagram who are making pastry and adjunct stouts. We headed to Crooked Thumb Brewery, which has become famous locally at least for its donut inspired beer, aptly now part of the new trend dubbed pastry sours.
We were kind of here at the brewery, and my wife brought some mini donuts, and one of them had guava paste and cream cheese in it, like the classic Cuban pastry. And so I ate it. I was like, guys, this is what we're making. We're gonna make a Florida Weisse, lactose, vanilla, guava in it. And that was kind of our first foray into the pastry sours. Yeah. We'd been hearing about them, drinking some, trying to figure out what we liked, what we didn't like about them to figure out our way. This kind of was really the onus to get us to do it. And it was so well received at the event, and then we still had a little bit left over. We put it on tap here. Our customers liked it, so we ended up making a large version of it. We called that one Bring 'em to the Yard, and did really well. We'll definitely be bringing that back again this year at some point in time.
It's almost like a strange crossover with the pastry stout and the Florida Weisse that are sort of like on bang.
Yes, yeah, that is kind of what that style is. Yeah. We were even talking about getting like a slushy machine and doing like slushy toppers like on beers and stuff like that, or even like full-on size ones. So like, yeah, and doing that with our like Florida Weisses and stuff like that. So that way, it like, especially when it's depths of summer, super hot, like when something's really cold and refreshing like that. So I'm excited about that. We definitely are.
We need some of those right now in here. It's boiling.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we can grab some right now. The Florida Weisse that we have right now is a peach basil margarita Florida Weisse. So we used a bunch of fresh basil in the kettle, peach, lime, and orange in the fruits to kind of really get that like citrusy, like lime and orange from the triple sec, and then just a ton of peach. So my family does peach basil like frozen margaritas all the time during the summer. So that was kind of my inspiration for this beer, and I think we kind of nailed it.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, let's grab some.
Let's get some of those. Cheers, dude. Oh yeah, that basil. That is lovely.
Yeah, and it doesn't like overpower the whole thing either.
That's a party drink right there.
It is. This beer's dangerous. It's like 7.5% too.
Is it?
Yeah. Wow. It wasn't supposed to be that much, but we got a lot more sugar from the peach than I was expecting to get. So it came up a lot higher ABV than I was expecting. But
it's so smooth.
It drinks like a margarita should.
And so the Florida Weisse is starting to take on a life of its own, expanding out to other parts of the world and other styles, where it's twisted and squeezed into new things. It's really exciting to see new styles in the place they were born and to see them reinvented elsewhere. So let us know where you've seen them cropping up, and if you can, get to its birthplace in Tampa Bay.